Test, 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 testicles, testicles. Hello, testicles. Oof. My gut health is not that great right now. Let me move this over. Let me enable the filter. It's uncomfortable to look at. Where is it? I woke up with a headache. Yeah. Let's set the mood. We set the mood first. I'm a little late. Let me catch up. Okay. So today we're supposed to be talking about well, we're gonna be discussing suicide. That's what we're gonna be doing. How's the volume? It's a little low on my end, I think. The hello? That may have scared a lot of you. Okay. Let me just adjust the volume. The hello? The hello? Okay. 10%. How's that? Still loud? Probably. And then let's see. Yep. Okay. And next is what? Next is oh, my brain's not functioning fast enough. Oh, right. Change the microphone volume. Where is it? Mic volume. How now? Could go louder, right? The hello? Oh, that's too much. Too much. Wind it back. Hello? Okay. Is that loud and clear? I like to think so. Right. So I'm going to peel the band-aid a little. Let me bring this out. So this is who is currently joining us for the suicide discussion. I do have an introduction so that we can get the conversation going. But first, I'd like to open the stream by, just doing a little small talk, just a general discussion. And once we're ready, and maybe in about, like after we get in for like 10 minutes, we might just do the thing, Okay. Hi! We're live.
Hello.
Hi. Let me get my shit sorted first. Been doing that for the last 5 minutes. Right. Girl, anything you want to talk about today? Something to get up before
the actual discussion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like something that's really shifted recently is like letting things go that are out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a big theme in life recently.
Oh.
I feel like it's very helpful.
Anything specific?
Just letting go of things that like bother you in life. Like, wait, is this on YouTube?
Yes. I'm just about to let people.
They won't see it. But like my club, I'm like socially out. I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but anything other than that, I'm letting it go because it's out of my control. and it's been great. Therapy helps.
Oh, you've been going to therapy, huh?
Yes, I was discharged on Friday actually. It was great.
Discharged.
Oh, I wasn't like inpatient.
They
That's
kept
what
you
he
in.
just called it. No, it wasn't inpatient.
Okay.
Discharged means like ending the sessions.
That's such a weird. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds weird. Discharged?
I don't know. It's the word that he used.
Okay. Alright,
But-
so
Therapy helps.
you did get the good type of help. The one that matched you.
Yes. Yes. It's
Right.
still difficult sometimes, but learning process. Everything's learning.
So you learn to let things go.
Yes. I'm still learning.
Hmm. Ah, of course it doesn't work. Damn it. Oh, it does work. Would you look at that? No, it is
Wait, what are you
definitely
there?
not okay to move to Twitch, Betty. Not for this combo. Yeah, okay.
Shima.
Sishimaru?
I'm trying
Who
to look
dat?
for your stream so I could read the chat.
Oh man.
There it is. Oh, it's under. Okay.
What's it under? Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's. I just saw Mikey Nakata. There you go.
Hey. Okay. I never really had like a good like therapy experience. Maybe I never had therapy to begin with. Maybe that's the problem.
You've never had like an actual therapist?
I've spoken to some, one or two. First one didn't really vibe well with me because she handed out homework and I'm not about that. I lose interest immediately when they start handing out papers. And the next one was this Asian guy. I think I talked about it before, but yeah, he's probably an ESL. And yeah, he practically told me to not be sad.
Just
Yeah, just don't
think
be
happy
sad.
thoughts.
Imagine. Yeah. Oh yeah, Betty. Yeah, I figured out what the problem was last time. Apparently, something in the latency setting is different when you try to set up streams through OBS, and I realized my mistake. I fixed it. Should be better now, but now it doesn't support subtitles, closed captions, which is sad. But it's okay. Like, who's deaf here is actually listening to our live stream, you know? Okay.
Yumi.
Uni? Oh, yeah! She came back briefly. Which stream was that? Last stream? Yeah. I'm glad she's alive, right? She had cancer and shit.
Yeah.
Hi, Peach. Hello, hello. Right. So yeah, in about should we begin? Maybe we can get like a head start.
It's Wave there.
Wave is listening in. He might be gaming. He might be Fortniting. Fortnite. It's rewind time. What's your opinion on the slap, Guro?
Oh, I feel like people overreacted. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a slap. It's not like he pounced on him or anything. Maybe it's just me being Asian and used to being
Mm-hmm.
hit. But like, it's whatever. It's just a slap.
Mm. I think it tapped Chris Rock right in the trauma.
Mm.
Like, he used to be bullied and shit, right? But I don't think it's that deep. Yeah, of course. I'm just joking.
Honestly, I think it was kind of deserved. But
G.I. Jane joke?
I also think it could be like Will Smith trying to prove his masculinity because we all know that his wife is cheating on
Yeah,
him.
I felt like he was cornered.
Yeah,
Mm.
trying to be more masculine.
Yeah. Like, I understand the reaction, but at the same time, Chris Rock is doing his job, and I don't know, I can't condone the slap. Because how far are we gonna go after that? Is what I feel.
I like wrestling.
Wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
You like watching
I
wrestling?
condone it. Let's have them do like a, what's it called, KSI fight, KSI style fight. I'd watch that.
I never really sat down and watched any. I see it on some websites often.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see it on my Twitter.
Oh, yes.
Just a clip.
Yeah. Yeah, the highlights. The important parts.
Yes.
Isn't internet great? I wonder if Wave understands what we're talking about.
I think so. He's American.
Uh-huh. But probably
He's
not on
trending
the
on
same
Twitter.
page. Wait, have you ever tried wrestling? Have you done it yourself?
I mean, I did judo.
Oh, me too.
That was pretty fun.
Hmm.
Getting to throw people around. I got lots of repressed anger out.
Mhm.
It's
Have you-
great.
Have you thrown yourself on the ground?
I've. Oh yeah, to learn how to fall.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first things we did.
Yeah. Very important.
Yes.
Peach is saying, I feel like if he said, keep my wife's name, but first, this whole thing wouldn't have escalated. Yeah, you could have sold it with words, right? I mean, Will Smith would have looked salty, but at least, you know, he's not a violent person. If he just said something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He's a celebrity and, you know, rich people, you know, slapping each other.
I condone it.
I
There are
can't.
people in the industry
Mm.
that have done worse that
I
still go to
agree.
award ceremonies.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, okay. Okay, shall we? Let's not prolong this for too long. I feel like we need all the time that we have. Okay.
The fuck?
Hello.
What wave? We're good? Okay, so let's get to it. So today, I am... How should I phrase it? I am desperately looking for a reason to shift my opinion on some certain things about suicide. Because I want to be empathetic. I want to be, let's say, agreeable to like certain behaviors that people take when people take their own lives. Right? It's a sensitive subject, and for those who can't handle the conversation, please make your way out of this live stream. I'm just doing this for personal reasons mainly, and secondary thing would be to have other people express their opinions on this as well, so that we can have like more of a grounded idea on what we think on like certain topics that is surrounding this particular not epidemic, yeah, just suicide in general. Okay, so let's see. My whole shtick, the reason why I want to change my own mind is because I don't like the sound of my own opinion. So my opinion is, no, my question is, should you feel sorry for those that have taken their own lives?
Yes and no.
So this whole thing is for you to explain why you believe what you believe.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
If you say yes and no as to those who have taken their own lives, well, you have to ask yourself this question of why.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say what I want here, right? I can get as dark as possible.
Do it. That's why we're on YouTube.
All right. So you ask yourself this conversation. There's a teenage girl. She's committed suicide. Now, her being a female or a male, it doesn't really matter. I just chose to go with the teenage girl. A teenager chooses to commit suicide. This teenager has been abused by their parents. Everyone at school treats them like shit. They have no outlet to where they can find any form of comfort. Life just goes against them 100%. So at that point, said person is looking for relief. The best relief for them in their eyes is death. Now, if you look at another situation, someone's killed their entire family and then they killed themselves. Both people committed suicide, but they did it for different reasons. So yes, you should feel sorry for the person who... I say you should feel sorry for the person who's been suffering this whole time and no one gave a damn, so they chose to kill themselves because we have a shitty fucking society, versus the person who killed themselves just so they wouldn't go to prison after killing everyone else.
Fair. Guru?
But then there comes the thought, like, why did that person kill the other people? What was going on in their head?
That's also a factor. It could be the same situation with similar to a different outcome. The person could have been being bullied, not accepted by parents, everything else I listed before. So they chose to handle it instead of just killing themselves. They chose to kill. You could say, I'm going to kill everyone else so everyone else doesn't have to suffer the same way I do. Then I'm going to kill myself so I don't have to suffer like this anymore.
I just consider it a sad situation that they felt like that was their way out. That was their relief.
See, Wave touched on what I wanted to talk about. I'm glad things went the way it did. Yeah, okay. But before, we get into it deeper, I think, we got an understanding of what Wave thinks. Yeah, Guru, I don't know if you explained enough of your point. How about you? Like, do you think you should feel sorry for those that taken their own lives?
I feel like my thoughts on it are like... Sorry. It's more of being sad at the situation itself. That it had to come to that. For the person, it depends on why.
Right.
Like Wave said.
Okay. Yeah, I agree too. Okay. And you don't have to answer this if you can't, okay? Yeah. Have you attempted to take your own life?
Once.
Start with Wave then.
Yeah. Kinda.
Where do you think I got the example from?
What about you, Guru?
Through what's it called? Ibuprofen
Sorry?
or Tylenol?
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Medication.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wasn't my first choice, but that's all I had.
I'll talk about my own experience as well. All I did was just
Wait.
sat down with a cup of bleach.
Hmm.
That's as far as it got. What's that, Wave?
You want like an in-depth explanation from us, or was that good enough?
I don't want to dig too deep because, you know, like, I'm not trying to open up traumas and then... Yeah.
You gotta remember, I don't have.
I know, but, you know, liability and shit. Well, you're welcome to talk about it, of course. Go for it.
I'm just wondering how much evidence we need to put on the table for this discussion.
It's more or less for people who are listening that maybe needs context on, you know, where we're coming from, right? And if it better explains your point later on, if you explained, you know, what you've been through, then maybe it's worth explaining.
I guess then I don't. Well,
You can talk
probably.
about it
I
if you
probably
want
do
to.
need to explain. Yeah, points I'm probably gonna present later on in the discussion. I will explain it
Okay.
for the blank, like however many people are in the live stream, because I'm not looking at the thing. For those who don't know, I like fiction. For those who don't know, I'm selective about the females that I pick. And for also those who don't know, I am ugly as shit. By the age of, how old was I in the 10th grade? By the age of 15, there we go. By the age of 15, I have fully been pushed aside by, I won't say by society, I'm built there. My father believed I was gay because I refused to just date any woman who would offer it up to me. Both of my brothers hated everything that I liked it and choose to set me aside. Like, I spent all day by myself, lonely as fuck, not doing anything, you know. It's just reading manga, comics, watching anime because no one else cared about those things. My mom was a depressed fuck who I was watching drown on medication her whole life and sleep all day. And my father hated me. So literally I had nothing. I legitimately had nothing to live for. My father told me I wasn't going to be shit. My mom didn't believe I would be anything if I didn't do any better. Both of my brothers told me I wouldn't amount to shit. All the people in school literally told me I should kill my fucking self because what I do for fun and my existence is irrelevant as shit. So it was like one night I was like, fuck it. Why not? Might as well see what the fuck happens. So I took the what do you call it? What's the big knife called? Help me out, people. Come on now.
Fever?
No, I took the butcher knife. The butcher knife, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna end it off right here and now. Was that probably the best first choice? No, but it was the first choice I chose to make. So as I was leaving my kitchen, walking towards my room. Wait, does it matter how it ended?
I think it does.
Okay, so as I was walking back towards my room, I'm not gonna say I had a walk-in with God, but I had a walk-in with the devil. As I walked towards my room, the last thing I remember seeing is me with bright red eyes standing in the doorway and fainting. I came to the very next morning when my mom was waking me up off the middle of the hallway floor, and it looked like I had been beat up by Satan himself. I had a black eye. I had dry blood coming out of my nose. Looked like I had been hit by fucking Floyd Mayweather. And from neck to bottom of my legs where my feet start, I was covered in scratches and bruises. No idea as to what happened to me. I kind of don't care to this day. But from that point on, I've never had thoughts of committing suicide ever again.
But with the butcher knife, huh? That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Where were you gonna go with that? I'm trying to.
I was gonna
imagine.
slit myself in the neck.
Oh, with the blade. It's okay. Well, you're not gonna chop into your own body. Okay. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, good outcome. Hold on. Hey from Twitch is trying to join us, I think, but he wasn't sure when the live stream was gonna begin, so I think he's trying to sort something out. He will maybe come soon, maybe. I think you.
Okay.
No,
Ooh.
okay. I want water, please. Water, thank you.
All right. What comes
Water.
next?
Give me a moment. We'll keep going for another hour and a half plus. Yeah, depending on where the conversation is.
Hmm.
Okay. Right. So where were we?
Wait, are you streaming on Twitch or YouTube?
YouTube? Because Twitch is scary when it comes to
Okay,
this topic.
Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, I think we might be divided as a group here when it comes to the opinions of how we see people who attempt suicide. Yeah, not necessarily the thought of suicide itself, but yeah, the type of people that we imagine in our head. Yeah, mainly because of our personal experience, which is understandable. Okay, thank you. Right. So the next topic is I wanted to get a reaction out of both of you on this particular sentence here. I caused harm to others because I have depression / bipolar / ADHD. So, hiding behind mental illness. What is your opinion on this statement?
It's not necessarily are they hiding behind it, as in it's a fact. Because, like, when you possess depression is caused by some form of way of being either treated or like a traumatic experience. If said person, like, I don't know, said person was beat up as a child by their parent, and then I walk up and punch said person in the face, and they black out and just go crazy and start attacking me. They don't remember said situation, but they have the self-awareness and they understand how depression works to be like, okay, this is what happened. He hit me, I blacked out, and I handled my situation. Did he mean to do it? No. He know why it was caused because of his depression, and his body just reacted on a mental instinct. He's not hiding behind it, it's just a fact.
I like that. Go ahead.
For me, I don't think it should be an excuse. I feel like it should go context. Like, I may have a disposition to black out and lash out at people, but if I'm the person with like that disability, I should keep that in mind and try to control it more. Like, it shouldn't be an mental illness shouldn't be an excuse to act like shit. You shouldn't be able to treat others badly just because you have a disability.
But for like the way I said it, you can make the statement, he's not using it as an excuse, it's just why it happened. Like, I could walk in and let's say I did it. Let's say it was my fault. I could walk in and say, this is how it happened. I'm not making an excuse about it. You asked me what happened, and this is what happened. Why did it happen? Because of this. This is why it happened. It's not an excuse, it's an answer.
Right, Brendan. We're currently getting everybody to react to this particular statement. I caused harm
But-
to others because I have depression slash bipolar slash ADHD slash fill in mental illness here.
I think with that statement, it comes across as like that person was just controlled completely by their disability and they didn't, like, they weren't there actually committing the act. It was their disorder doing the act and not them, which I don't think. I feel like it's just a part of them. It's not wholly them.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about that I've been thinking about recently, in terms of like, what's the filter that we have? Like, what's our view of ourselves and like our own motivations? Like, what's our identity, and how much do we let that influence our behavior, or how much is that just like an excuse for our behavior or an explanation for what we see ourselves doing? Does that happen first? Is it something that we say after? It's like you just do something by impulse, and then after do you say, oh, it was because of, you know, X, Y, or Z? And that statement strikes me as kind of the second one. But we explain everything that way, so is it accepted in some cases and not others? I think in cases where we hurt people and the rest of society or just that person wants us to take responsibility, this kind of explanation is a little bit less accepted if there's the implication of like, oh, and therefore, since it's like everything else that I expect you to sort of not like hold me too accountable for, or if it's like I spent that extra money because the thing I bought was cool. If you're sort of giving an explanation that the other person is supposed to just accept at face value and stop interrogating you. But if they want to hold you accountable, that's not going to fly, right? They're going to be like, no, you don't get it. Like, you're not supposed to just give me something to be like, okay, and now shut up about it. No, we want some other thing from you instead of just some words to be like, here's why you should accept what happened from me. And I think a lot of that is to do with like things that we piece together about our own identity. It's like, here's the things that I think jive and go well together about me, and that I would like other people to accept and not challenge me too much on. And so saying like, oh, I hurt, you know, this other person because of this thing that explains why I have other problems in my life, and that is an explanation and maybe an excuse for some of my more problematic behaviors. That just sounds like a very natural and ubiquitous explanation to me. In terms of like, does that actually cause problems of like, is that you trying to escape responsibility? I guess it does if someone doesn't say it's like, okay, and you're also responsible for that mental illness, and then it doesn't help you escape, right? It's like, okay, thanks for the explanation for, you know, why this happened, but if you were going to try to like dodge responsibility for it, it's pretty easy to avoid that dodge. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, now the way I'm thinking about this is I could be taking your answer wrong, but you're saying that they're using their mental illness as a way to escape responsibility for what happened. That's not always necessarily the case.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people, I guess what I'm saying is I would hear that statement and go, yeah, this is, you know, like the kind of pattern that people use to explain literally everything. And the only other flip side of that coin would be some people might object to that if they think you're trying to dodge responsibility.
So wait, does that come down to the perception of the person who's saying it or the person who's hearing it?
The person who's hearing it.
Okay, so me and you are like almost on the same page, if not page.
Yeah. The issue that
I
I
can
have.
see
Oh
it.
yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Oh, I can see it as like a case by case basis. Like if the person
100%.
shows a repeated pattern of behavior and it is because of their like what they have, their mental disorder or something, then I can see it as like, yeah, it's probably actually because of that disorder. But if it's something like that they wouldn't usually do and they use their disorder as like an excuse, yeah, it wouldn't
It
fly.
necessarily, at that point, there's two different answers you could give yourself. Because it necessarily, one, yes, one answer is it's just a fucking excuse. But the second answer could be they've been being pushed and pushed and pushed, always keeping it in check. And then this one situation is what caused it to just snap.
Or there's other things that day that it's like, okay, yeah, here's the first time that your normal controls didn't work.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think those this kind of statement gets I think we're not given a lot of context where it's like, why is the person saying this? I think the most common context though is someone asked you or it asks you after the fact. It's like, okay, like maybe everyone, including yourself, understands like, okay, something just happened that everyone else isn't going to accept, and someone else asks you, okay, we're gonna, with the implication, we're gonna socially litigate this a little bit. Why did you do that? And here's the statement, right? It's like, I hurt so and so because of, you know, this thing about me that causes me difficulties in my own behavior. Like, okay, so you're giving an account, right, of why you did that, and that's either going to be good enough for the other person, and they're going to go, okay, that's a good enough reason for why you did it, and I'm not going to harass you about it. Or they're going to say, it's not good enough, or yeah, that makes sense, but we need something else from you to, I don't know, make sure it's not going to happen again, or whatever.
Yeah, going on the side of prevention. Yeah, I can agree with that too. Yeah, I think that would be a better way to resolve an issue, such as.
Well, that's usually what people want, right? When something they don't like happens, they want to see what caused it and find a way to make sure that they control that outcome not happening again, right?
The problem that I have with this particular example, because we don't really have a context for this, I just generalized it so that, you know, we can all have an opinion on it and see where we are at. I don't think mental illness has any like direct correlation with aggressive behaviors. I think it might cause frustration that might trigger some like behavioral reactions. And yeah, it could be.
Hold on. Give me 10 seconds. I have a response to that.
Okay, go. Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted 10 seconds to say something. You need 10 seconds to think. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, if like that, to say that it had no direct correlation, it's not true, because what creates whatever said mental illness you have will more than likely create the outcome of what happens to push you to said. Again, I only speak from personal experience. If someone pushes you your entire life and you're tired of that, you have a mental illness of you're ill. Oh my god, I'm explaining this like shit.
It's okay.
I think you're doing okay. Keep going.
Beat on and treat it like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Your direct reaction to it at your breaking point will be of a reaction of, I don't want this to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So you respond with anger and rage.
But that's not because you're said mental illness, right? Like that's what I mean.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Well, I think it's different. I mean, I think the mental illness is the either the thing you do to cope day to day with that stressor, right? The thing that's causing you anguish or difficulty. The different like copes and things you do to make that a little bit more bearable or to try to avoid some of those situations. I think that is more closely like what defines the mental illness part of it, right? And the inability to like stop doing those things. But if you're saying the same thing that causes that reaction at some point the stress will build up too much, I agree that you'll react with anger, right? Because anger is like that self-defense, like I need to power up and like stand up for myself response. If that's in direct
Exactly.
response to the stress, then I see those as maybe like two branching things. Before you were avoiding confronting it, right? And so you have this mental illness response. Don't you actually just like switch to the anger response? And I actually don't really know. Like, I don't have a. I think everyone has like some copes and some mental illnesses to different degrees. So I think we can probably all relate with this stuff. I've never had something so bad that it wasn't ultimately like kind of controllable at my own level or that really needed medication. So I guess I don't really know, like if we're talking about something that severe, but like just the way it's being presented, even your explanation sounds like it's the original response stops being enough, right? The copes and everything else, and then you have to switch to the other one, the anger response.
I think it's different case by case. Like some people don't resort to anger. That's another thing too.
Yeah, I think anger is like Brendan said. If I actually, quote everything he said, it's a stress response, isn't it? Like being frustrated for a long period of time, it causes you to, do things that are rather rash, and a quick solution is what you would look for. And
Yeah,
physical
well,
ways.
I was agreeing with what I heard Wave say, which is that when you decide it's like enough is enough, I can't put up with this anymore.
Mm.
That's I agree. That's what I hear is triggering the anger response, because that's when you're going to start pushing back.
Yeah. So my point is, mental illness may contribute to that, but I don't think it's. I don't want to use the word excuse.
Well,
I don't think it's
here's
the
the
cause.
thing about the form of here's the thing about the form of that statement. If someone asks you to account for why you did something, anything you say isn't an excuse for it happening, but oddly, even the person asking is kind of they're sort of requesting that you give a good enough explanation that someone else would be able to empathize with why you did that. And maybe if it's understandable enough, it's easier for other people to go easy on you. So it's a weird situation where the explanation never really excuses the fact that it happened, right? Like giving a really good explanation where people understand might make them feel a bit better about it and decide to like act out against you in retribution less, but it doesn't, like if you didn't want the thing to happen, you're still going to have to change your behavior, right? So if the explanation that you give is taken as, okay, we're not going to really ask for any concessions from you in the future, we're not really going to ask you to change how you go about your life so you're a bit less stressed in other ways so that this sort of thing doesn't happen, or we're not going to ask you to self-reflect so that you can choose a different response next time. If you don't ask for that stuff, then right, an explanation is, you can call it an explanation or an excuse or whatever, but it doesn't really absolve you of having to change the consequences of what happened in the past, right? I mean, that has to be done separately.
And the particular problem
it's
that
weird.
I have. Oh, yep.
No, go ahead.
So I'm worried that blaming is that the word? Is that the word I really want to use?
Probably.
Yeah. Let's say blaming your behavior on mental illness, right? Especially the ones that are directly, I guess, causing the harm to other people. I don't want that to lead to people misunderstanding what like that said mental illness is and stigmatizing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
It's like
wait, no, this is something. This is something I'm calling this one out because, like, I gotta explain this properly. Explain this right.
It's all right. Take your time, though. Take your time.
That said, stigmatism is classed to like everything, though, isn't it? Because let's say we have a friend who has depression. Everyone's immediately going to assume that if anything bad happens to this person, that could send said person over the edge.
yeah, they're gonna think, depression causes problems for people, so anything that causes a big problem for this person, the first thing you're gonna think of is to attribute it to the most problematic thing about them that you know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And when people snap, right, due to, let's say, well, using the example of depression, right? Yeah. Because they might be sensitive to things due to the fact that they're already dealing with a lot. I think once they snap, that really defines who they are on the inside, depending on the behavior that they take on. So, if they... Let me word this right. So if they were the type to like hit people, obviously I don't see them as a good person no matter what they have inside them. I think verbally abusive people, I look at them the same, but not to the same intensity. But people who deals with it by crying or self-harm, I have more sympathy for.
Yeah, I mean, snapping is a weird thing, right? Because what do we mean by snapping? I think a lot of the ways that's portrayed, like in media and stuff, is an outward expression of doing something, right? But another thing that's discussed a lot right now, I think, is burnout. And you'll hear people describing the symptoms of what happens after they start thinking it's like, oh yeah, I've actually burned out now. And it's like the inability to keep doing things the way they used to, or having less energy or innate motivation to do this thing that they've burned out over. And so I think that change in ability or change in control over your actions. In this case, it's a change in you're not able to control when or how you motivate yourself to be able to do something. Is anything like that, any change in ability or control over your reactions to things is a form of snapping. So I guess what I'm hearing Mikey say is he has more sympathy for people who snap and take that damage just more on themselves, as opposed to people who turn around and start throwing it back, at the external world. That sort of makes sense to me, but also it sort of doesn't. Like you really want to just avoid that point, don't you? Where someone's snapping, is it really right that they snap and then they take all the damage on themselves? I mean, if they snap and give damage to other people, shouldn't we treat someone damaging themselves and damaging other people as equally bad?
Maybe I failed on like explaining my point. So when I make the differentiation, it's more or less about how the person deal with the stress and where they take it out on. So like you said, right?
Yeah.
People who I think that is, I guess, expressing their frustration onto outwardly at person or people, I think is pretty shitty. But
because they should be responsible for not letting that
Yeah.
happen, right?
But I think I'm fine with them not doing it, not doing those said things, and I guess taking their stress out on some other harmless way. It doesn't have to be self-harm. It can also be, I guess, breaking things somewhere safe, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think would be a lot more responsible of a way to like look after your own snapping. I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
I feel like
Cool.
Go ahead.
that's a very what's the right word? Because okay, everyone's explained to handle different things in different ways. So if you come from a household where you have some form of mental disability, of course, and you come from a household where you're always told, someone puts their hands on you, put your hands on. Someone talks shit about you, don't take that. Stand up for yourself. Put them down. And then in other households, you're told, don't hurt nobody. Don't do anything wrong. Blah, 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 blah. And someone pushes you to your breaking point. At that point, it's going to come down to what you understand to do in said situation. Now, if you've always been told that if someone puts their hands on you or pisses you off to a certain point, hit them, you're more likely going to hit them. As to where if you've been told never to harm an individual, you're going to take that pain upon yourself and do whatever comes next.
I see your point, and I agree. I think fighting back is warranted, especially in a situation of bullying. It's just I'm saying don't do it in the name of mental illness. I think that those two are a complete separate thing. Like fighting back at bullies, I don't think you can use the excuse of I have depression, so that's why I hit them.
I mean,
it's more or less, it's because you were
Point,
bullied. That's why you hit them.
You actually can use mental illness not as an excuse but as an answer. I won't say the word excuse.
Mhm.
Because let's say we have a person who has been beaten their whole life, right? I know I keep going back to this, but this is the only base that I truly understand.
Yeah.
Person's been beat their whole life.
Yeah.
And from a certain point on, they feel that I don't want this to happen to anyone else, so I'm going to treat everybody else right. So let's say for 4 years straight, they never get hit on. They treat everybody right. They have friends. They have all this. And then, I don't know, they run into some guy on the street who they accidentally bump shoulders with, and this man punches them in the face. Now, this person is not known to respond like that. However, being hit in the face by this individual triggers flashbacks and feelings of what happened before, and he knows, or he or she knows, that they don't want to go through this again. Off instinct, the instinct that has been created by the mental illness that they have, they are going to defend themselves by attacking said individual who hit them.
I've never considered that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree that those things specifically always follow, but I think I agree with your overall point. This thing, you kind of develop this trauma or this response to this stress, right? And whatever that response is, it's in response to something that may or may not still be happening. It was just bad enough that it messed you up a little bit, right? Here's mental illness, kind of
exactly.
a really simplified version. Whatever that does to reduce your ability to stay in control all the time, the specific way that can push you into a new behavior that you don't want, I would say, yeah, you can see that your continued stress response, this mental illness, reducing your capability to self-control, that I think you can say, yes, this next thing that it leads to is because of the mental illness, because the original stressor may not be there anymore. But I think it's possible to to pick that apart and see like, okay, is it just because like was this a fight or flight response like in the moment that you might have done anyway, regardless of mental illness, and maybe just being more stressed in general from the other stuff about your mental illness made it a little bit easier to fall into that. That to me just sounds like it's a stress response. But
Mhm.
if you're reacting in a specific way that you're more primed to do because of your mental illness, like if you have a little tick to like get really big and seem more imposing, uh, and that leads into a bit more of a fight, and that's a response that's kind of connected to a mental illness, then okay, that's a little bit different, right? Without that mental illness, you wouldn't necessarily have that reflex.
Isn't it a trauma response?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
trying to be careful not to say trauma response because I'm not an expert on that stuff, and that makes it
Yeah.
sound like I'm speaking from a very informed place that I'm kind of not. So I've been avoiding saying it that way.
I feel like it's up to the person that would have that response to try to control it. Like the person that on the receiving end of that response should only give you the person. Sorry, my words. I feel like the answer, like what Wave said, should only be accepted like a few times because the person with the illness should learn that they have that and try to remedy it through something or try to treat it through something and try not to let it affect other people, just to be considerate of other people, if you get me.
But then that comes that I'll ask this question: what do you do when you're told that there's only one way to handle it and you choose not to handle it that way for a certain reason?
Mm,
Can you give us an example?
So I
yeah.
agree. Can I say something
Yeah,
really quick? I
go for
agree
it.
with I agree with what's being said that, everyone's responsible for their own actions. And, if you know that you have trouble dealing with certain things, to the extent that you can, you should try to deal with it and keep it under control. But I think the special thing about this situation is a mental illness, in my opinion, is defined by a certain method of control that you try to exert um, in response to a really bad stressor, right? Or in response to a trauma,
Mm,
and it has become something that you must do to self-protect, right? It's become a reflexive thing that you start doing. Um, so to an extent, you have given up control over making decisions, how right, deciding again each time how you're going to respond to this stressor. And that's kind of why it's reflexive, right? By the time we call it reflexive, you've you have this ingrained behavior, and you're not going to decide on a case by case basis consciously what to do. It's a much more subconscious, buried response that's become automatic. And so I think the reason it's an explanation, not an excuse, and why you can't say this person should control it anymore is because become serious enough that they're not really in control over reassessing it each time. And that's really the main issue with the mental illness, is that you're not in control anymore. And to cure it, you need to reduce the stress enough and put yourself in a good enough place that you can build in the decision making capability again. And that's what actually solves the mental illness, in my opinion.
mhm.
And that's the difficult thing, right? Like, don't we all fall into these habits where each time you get put in a situation, and if you haven't set up in advance a lot of systems to give yourself enough space to say, okay, I'm not just going to do the same thing I always do, you just do the same thing that you always do, right? That's the hard thing. If it's something harmless, like, if there's a snack in front of you, you eat it, then that can turn into something bad over time, of course. But mm, if you don't run into that situation too often, then it's like, okay, you don't really notice how bad it could get, or the fact that you're not in 100% control isn't so bad. Um, but if it's about something worse, right, where even one time messing up causes a lot of problems for you or other people, then it gets treated a lot more seriously, even though it's probably the same thing, right? Just a reflex that you're not in as much control over.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I don't necessarily disagree.
A big part of me feels that, like, if they say that, oh, I did this because I have this, and they keep doing it repeatedly,
Well, they're
and
probably going to
don't
keep doing it repeatedly if it's due to
and
a mental
don't
illness, right?
yeah, and don't try to do something to help with it, it and you keep like accepting that answer, it's like you're taking away their it's like you're not acknowledging that there's like a person there that could be able to control it. I don't know if I worded that right.
Yeah, like accountability, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Right.
Like they aren't just their illness.
Hmm. I think you can still separate your behavior from. No, it's more like expressing how you feel inside, especially when you're dealing with a lot of dark stuff. I think that's a choice. How you express it is a choice, and some ways of expressing it that's what I don't agree with, and especially when they're, I guess, combined with the reasoning of like mental illness, that's when I have a problem. I feel like that person made a decision to be the kind of person that they are. They just happen to have this disadvantage mentally.
I think I hear what you're saying, and let me try to clarify a little bit and see if
Please,
you agree.
please.
Would you say that what you're saying is, let's say someone is in a certain environment that has some resources and not others, and you see them relying on those resources. You could say they could choose to do something else, but the most natural thing to do is to use the resources around them, right? So if your behavior is based on the circumstances, then that's obvious. And if but it doesn't excuse that whatever you're doing may be more efficient or less efficient than, you know, ideal circumstances if other things were present. But they're not, right? You're operating in a certain set of circumstances. So would you agree with the idea that operating in a certain with a certain mental illness is the mental illness is more like a set of circumstances, so if you want to change your behavior, you're going to have to add or subtract other things in those circumstances. But you do have the ability to choose to try to alter that while acknowledging that if nothing changes, it's pretty obvious that the default is just going to keep happening.
Hmm.
All right. Anybody else have something to say?
I agree with that.
I agree with
Mental
that too.
illness as a set of circumstances.
I agree with him because he's right.
Oh, wow. Did I just win? I won, guys. Damn, I got everyone to
Damn.
agree with me. I wasn't expecting that.
All right. Yeah, Brendan. Yeah, you weren't there for the initial question, so I should ask. I think the second one you already answered, so yeah, we can just skip to the first one. Should you feel sorry for those that have taken their own lives? Is how it started off with.
Man, should you feel sorry? Should you feel sorry for someone who took their own life? I think I need more information to give a yes or a no on that.
Right.
You know what? You know what? To that initial question, I can give a straight up yes. And I can also give reasons for why.
Do it.
Because at the end of the day, humanity's whole purpose for existing, as we had this discussion earlier, is to create the perfect society so that we can have answers to all forms of diseases, this, that, and the fourth. However, the reason you should feel sorry for these people is because the mental illness that they possess to lead them to committing suicide is created from the society that we have. If humanity has created individuals who are bullying other individuals, who are pushing individuals to the limit to where they kill themselves and or other people and then kill themselves, it's a fact that our society is still flawed. You should feel sorry for these people because it is our fault that they are the way they are, no matter what they did and no matter why they did it.
I think I need to quickly
Okay,
clarify. Yeah, Brendan, this is about opinions. It's not about right or wrong.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Use your perspective.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna disagree with that, but the way you worded it, I guess I kind of do agree. And what I was gonna say before was if they were in control and gave a measured, reasoned response where they thought, yeah, this is actually the best outcome, and then did it, then I'm not sure I can really feel sorry for someone who is totally in control of themselves and chooses something for themselves. On the other hand, if there are circumstances that they wish could change and they feel pushed into this kind of solution, and maybe due to time pressure or other pressures, this is the one they have to kind of make on the fly, then I would feel bad that they didn't get to make a decision as in control as they could have, or that they didn't have all the resources or options available that they wish they could have to have made a better decision. But then based on what was just said, it's like, yeah, does anyone really end their life prematurely unless they're pressured or feel like they can't make any better decision? Like, don't they probably always wish that there could be a better decision? Or as a society, wouldn't, even if they don't, wouldn't we say, if we could do things a little bit better or structure things a little bit better, wouldn't almost no one ideally have to be in that situation? That's probably true. I think I agree with that. There's probably always improvements to be made, so that people don't get pushed into ending their own lives earlier than they would otherwise. I mean, we all die eventually, but I think we are kind of all here to last as long as possible and do as much as possible, within the limits of reality. So, and someone ending their life early, doesn't that really say that they feel less supported than they otherwise would have?
I
I feel
don't
like,
think.
hmm,
If you got something to say, girl, say your words.
Uh, I don't think a site, a society like that can exist. Cause
Yeah, it might not.
cause I just believe that some people are just predispositioned to be happy. Some people are predispositioned to be sad and depressed. Just cause I feel like that's just like the natural balance of the world.
Wave?
Cause
Hmm.
yeah.
I don't agree with that. Do I? Do we agree with that? Are we gonna let that statement slide? I don't feel
No.
like I agree with that statement.
It's intentionally like generalized. Like I made this
Well,
question so that people can
yeah.
refer to their own experience and then answer the question rather than specifically answering a particular question that is referring to a situation.
Yeah, the idea that it's natural for some people to be less disposed to happiness, I'm trying to separate out the fact that my bias is that doesn't resonate with me at all, and I can't really understand that. Um, with the I'm trying to account for that while at the same time my main response is, I think a healthy human organism is always trying to grow and do things that we would describe as thriving. So it doesn't seem logical to me that a natural state for a healthy human is to be predisposed to sadness. That seems contradictory to something that I consider base human nature.
Exactly. Now I wanna touch on two things. What girl just said and what Brendan said earlier. Is it Brendan or Brandon?
Brendan.
What Brendan said earlier. He made the comment that he couldn't feel sorry for a person who's had so let's say they've had time to think their situation through and they choose to kill themselves. I don't agree with that because let's say you've been told you're
Well-
like as people
well, it's
grow
There's a caveat. It's only if they think that is the best possible solution under any set of ideal circumstances, right? It's
that's what I was
this
about to
is-
touch on.
yeah.
That's what I was about to touch on. People go through their whole life, like when you lose a family member, people tell you that they're in a more peaceful place than here. When you go to church, people tell you that the afterlife is a more peaceful place than where you currently are now, no matter how well you try to make your life. Everyone will, all, in some way, shape, or form, will receive the notion that when you die, you go to a better place than what you will ever have here. So if said person receives this information, receives a whole bunch of counseling and all that, and weigh their options, the medication I'm currently taking and the therapist I'm seeing is I'm being told, I feel like this is the best solution, but I'm being told that in death, there's nothing but peace, and that's all I'm looking for. If you truly think that through, you'll come to the thought that if I kill myself, I'll finally be at peace.
Mhm.
I've thematically thought it through, and this is the best option.
Hmm.
But you've also got to consider, by the way, hello.
Hi, buddy.
Hello.
Hey,
You've also got to consider that when people say, "Oh, they've gone to a better place," they are literally just trying to give some kind of solace to the grieving party. I don't think. I think a lot of people don't actually mean it. They're just trying to
Yeah.
ease another
of course.
person's pain.
I think
Of course,
sometimes they
but
don't, but also
that'll come down to your intellect in and of itself. Like you yourself know that, but someone else might not. They might assume this is a fact.
I feel like
Well,
this
yeah.
goes.
Go ahead.
I feel like this goes into like more religion and spirituality.
Hmm.
Like for me, I really do believe that like if they do end up doing it, I feel like whatever happens would probably be better than what they were actually going through.
So I actually agree with Wave here that the explanation might be to placate, people, but also it does sound like it gets used in other times to give an answer to people like what happens after you die. That doesn't sound as bad as you just stop existing and it sucks. Um, so I think that message does get spread earlier as a way to kind of look ahead for individuals. So I don't think we can say that it's only used as a placating message for some people about someone else who died. I think it is often used to placate people about their own deaths in the future. That being said, I think you can create a measured, considered response about is it better to continue living or is it actually do the costs not out or do the costs outweigh the benefits at this point? Which is a tricky thing to say because it could be that it just seems like it'll be sort of hard, but my personal belief is sort of borrowed from other sources of inspiration that if there's anything for you to keep giving back to other people, the process of growing yourself, having your own needs met and creating enough abundance for yourself that you can then give back to other people and have people be self-supporting is sort of the purpose of being alive. And so if there's any extent to which you can keep doing that, it's to me, you can't reason that it's better to end your own life. But is there a set of circumstances where you can say, yeah, there's nothing left for me to contribute, and I'm not really going to keep getting any more enjoyment out of life. can you see where someone who's like 90 or 100 gets to that point and goes, yeah, my body's failing, I'm gonna go out sometime? At what point do they say, hey, now's the time? And is it possible for that to happen earlier than what we consider a ripe old age? It's hard to think of what those circumstances could be, but I think it's possible.
Hmm.
Even with the idea of after death you just stop existing. It's like, okay, so maybe you don't have to necessarily be afraid, because after you stop existing nothing bad can keep happening to you, but it's not going to feel good or peaceful, right? There's Death doesn't feel peaceful, it doesn't feel anything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
agree with that. Like well, there's been a few times, but the main time when I tried to end my own life, I knew I wasn't going to a better place. I knew it was just going to end, but in that moment, I wanted it to end. I was like, yeah, like what the fuck is left for me here? I was like, I was like, my
Mhm.
life is never going to get any better. I was like, there's literally nothing here for me. And to be honest, I feel like I was selfish in that moment, because in my head, I thought nobody would miss me. Nobody would be upset. And obviously, after I tried and failed, I realized actually, yeah, there was quite a lot of people that would be upset about it. So I was selfish in that moment. But yeah, you listen to the disease that you have, you listen to the depression, and you believe it. And yeah, kind of sucks.
Another like ooh shit. Another statement you can ask yourself is how much of what they tell you is true.
Hmm.
Do elaborate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hold on a sec. I have to
like
interrupt for a
let's
second.
say let's say I
I have
go
to
in to
dip.
kill myself. Oh, well, my bad.
Yeah. Um, yeah, sorry. I mixed up the time schedule, and thought this was gonna be tomorrow, so I've got on my calendar for tomorrow. But yeah, I carved out a little bit of time tonight, and I gotta get back to something.
Ah,
So this was a
yes.
good discussion though for like 30 minutes. But I gotta dip, so see you guys.
I'm glad you got your
Cool.
words in. Thank you
Yeah,
very much for
bro.
coming.
Sure. Yeah, it was great.
All right. Okay, so see you next time. And yeah, I wanted to, get my words in as well, but I feel like it was just going to derail the conversation to like, the beliefs and religion and yeah. Did everybody say what they wanted to say during that conversation?
One thing that I wanted to say is that I really don't see it as like a really, really bad thing. I think it's just a choice, and it shouldn't be something that you should be mad at a person for doing.
We'll get into that. I might just attack you for that too. All right. So,
Ooh.
yeah, spicy tonight. All right. I think the next one was yeah, we covered that. Yes. What's your opinion on people who threatens to kill themselves?
You mean when they have no intention to?
Well, you don't really know that, do you? That's why it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's different. If it's somebody threatening to do it because they intend to,
Yeah.
then
Let's say an asshole boyfriend threatens to kill himself because you want to break up with him.
yeah, but if he has no intention of doing it, that's a different situation. I would feel zero sympathy. I'd say fucking do it. But if he had if he had an intention of doing it, I'd probably try and help him out. Do you know what I mean?
But how do you
But
know?
how can you tell?
Yeah.
You can't tell.
When it's like the 17th time that they've said it,
Okay. Right. So you have to like
I'll
try to
put
break
this
up
out,
with him
though.
17
I
times.
can say many different things, many different times, and that one time could just end up being enough.
Yeah, but there's a you can tell the difference. If somebody's using it as leverage,
Hmm.
you can tell they're using it as leverage. It's like, oh, if you don't do this, this, and this, I'm going to kill myself. Whereas as somebody who's actually at the wit's end will be more along the lines of, yeah, I can't live without you, like I might just top myself. That's a bit different.
So wording changes the intent.
It's not just the wording, it's the entire how they act, what kind of personality they have. You have to take everything into consideration, I think.
Okay. Yeah. How about everybody else?
I'd agree with
I still
Betty.
believe that a person can say many things and then just finally end up going crazy. Because I could tell you 17 times, I could tell you I'm gonna kill myself, and I could be being brutally honest, telling you the truth and everything. And as I think about it, it comes to the mindset of I don't know, this is the reason why I shouldn't do it. Every time I come to the decision I'm gonna do it, maybe something happens that makes me change my mind in a split second. But then for that 18th time, those said things could just not be around, and then I could just do it and I'm gone.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So the issue with this behavior is the fact that we're putting that responsibility of, I guess, choosing to decide whether or not this person stays alive. We're putting that on the partner and not on the person themselves, which is an assholey thing to do,
No, I put it on the person themselves.
right? I think if you've been put in the situation, I think a person who doesn't have like a strong foundation on, what they want would probably crack and give in.
Mm.
And stay in that toxic relationship. Oh,
I
yeah.
know I would.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think like Betty, but there's just that part that's like, oh, what if they actually do it? Then it would just be on my conscience.
I'm gonna say it like this: a mindset like that is kind of. That's just how I feel.
Kind of what?
Because no matter how hard you try to read people, you'll never truly understand what a person means and what a person is going through.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess if they actually went ahead and did it, obviously I'd feel fucking awful. But I don't know, I just feel like it's happened enough times to me, and without any intention of it actually happening, that I feel like I don't know, I feel like I've got a grip on it, I guess.
You're a veteran at this. You've been through it so many times.
See, Betty has more experience in this stuff than I do, though.
You would be surprised how many people like use that as leverage at the end of a relationship. Like it's like the final straw, I guess, the final stand of we're not going to break up because I'm going to kill myself. And it's like, are you though? Are you actually though? Like, are you really? It sounds horrible, but like I'm just at that point.
Hmm.
I think that's fair. I think it doesn't make you a bad person.
Thank you.
Oh no. The anxiety just outweighs everything for me.
Mm. Like, you want to be on the good side of everybody. I think that's what we aim to do, but sometimes we can't help
No,
but have conflict. Okay, then.
no, no, no.
I understand. I think we choose to do what brings us convenience more than anything. How about that?
No.
Okay, then.
But I agree with you, Maru. I agree with you.
I can't agree with that statement because I'm always on the opposite side of the spectrum, no matter what it is.
You choose chaos. You wake up and choose chaos every morning.
Yeah, you
And
do
I've
what
been
makes you
told,
feel good.
and I've legitimately been told there's no way to fix me without medication.
Why do you gotta be fixed? That's so weird. So odd.
Yeah, I don't think you need fixing. I like you the way you are. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody got their words out?
Yeah.
Right. So far, what I've been giving you guys is an example of a person who's, for lack of better words, inconsiderate.
Mm.
Yeah, whether it be intentional or not, like saying that, I did this because I have depression and whatnot. I think that makes them, to me, a bad person. To me. Just to me. And yeah, whether or not if you use, threaten to kill yourself just because that person wants to do this or do that, that's a bad person thing to do, in my opinion. Right. So I wanted to touch on this because what we're going to be getting into is it won't make sense unless I did all of that beforehand. So I was recently watching a video on how people end their lives and why. The video started off with
boy.
yeah. The video started off with this has something to do with Japan. I think a few years ago there was an incident with a person jumping off from a 46th floor building, I think.
Mm.
They jumped off into Shibuya Scramble Square. So for those who doesn't know what that is, it's the place where everybody goes in every direction crossing the road. It's this big
Yeah, it's the
yeah.
crossing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people. And this guy dove straight into that. And managed to hit a 10-year no, not 10-year-old. I think it's a teenager. Teenage girl was struck by his body. She survived though, she didn't die. But everybody remembers what it sounded like when the body hit the ground, and everybody's talking about how awful it was and all that. And yeah, that's how the video started off. And then it moved on to how often like these Japanese people tend to jump in front of trains to end their own lives.
Mm.
So the issue with what they're doing, from what I see, is they're causing a whole lot of ruckus, a whole lot of damage to a whole lot of people. And that's what frustrated me the most about this particular video that I was watching. It happens, but I just can't feel bad for them while watching it.
So what frustrates you is that their death causes inconvenience to others?
I don't think it's at the point of inconvenience. I think it's past it now. You're subjecting people to witness your own death against their will.
Mm.
It's a choice that you made, right? Of throwing yourself off the building or throwing yourself in front of the train. Knowing what would happen, which is probably going to kill you, but I think a whole lot of people don't consider the aftermath.
So like, if they're in that state, they probably wouldn't consider the aftermath.
And that's
It
why I
makes
don't
sense,
like them.
right? Mm.
Wow.
What's your
I
opinion
don't know.
on that?
I agree that you shouldn't if you're going to do it, you shouldn't do it in a way that does genuinely either inconvenience or scar people for life. Like, I agree that you shouldn't do it in that kind of way, but I also think, like, when you're in that moment, I don't think that's your highest priority. I don't think that's what you're thinking about. All you're thinking about is, I want to end it. So I kind of see why they don't consider those things.
I do.
Yes, I think it's person to person. Cause like I know I thought beforehand, but I feel like other people, everyone's just different.
So I'm not faulting them on like wanting to end their own lives. You know, I don't know what kind of lives they live, and I can also relate to, you know, like feeling the way they do, like wanting to end it all. But I think being that invasive, like towards, you know, like everybody else around you, to me is like, I don't know, I can't condone it. I just can't be bothered like feeling sorry for people like that.
Question.
I mean, at that point, what you have to think about is when said person does this, like let's say they kill themselves because they assume no one cares about them. Even they would assume even after their own death, no one's still gonna care.
Mm-hmm.
Society just happens to put it everywhere for everyone to see. Like I could jump out in front of a train, get hit, no one could give a damn. Turn on the windshield wipers, wipe the blood off the windshield, and keep going. Clean the train, there you go, I'm gone. No one could care. Society chooses to point it out because they want to fix what's wrong with people like said person.
That's your question, Guru?
Oh. Do you believe in medically assisted suicide?
Yeah. I was gonna bring that up later.
For a healthy person,
Physically
healthy person.
I don't think so. Because medically assisted suicide, you have to qualify for that, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think I can say yes to that. Yeah. I mean, what Wave said, I think I agree. It's just suicides that are performative is something that I just don't care for. Like the fact that you have to do that in front of people is kind of that's the weird thing to like consider. While trying
Now,
to end
another
your
thing
own
you
life.
have to consider is
Mhm.
when said person is trying to kill themselves, they may not possess the ability to do it. Like, I can take a gun and put it to my head, but I don't possess like the intention. I don't possess not the intention. I don't possess the will to pull the trigger. However, if they jump, gravity does all the work. They don't have to. Once you hit the ground from that height, you're going to die. When you jump out in front of a moving train, it does the work for you. You don't have to. All you have to do is muster up the courage to jump. They were able to muster up the courage to put the gun to their head. They just didn't have the strength to pull the trigger. They mustered up the courage to jump. They don't have to pull the trigger. Gravity does. The train does. Everything, all the other rest of the work is done for them.
So you're saying they're lazy?
I'm saying they're fearful.
Yeah. I'm trying to be really careful with my wordings. Because. No, why am I? Yeah, so if I'm being really honest, people like that, I see that happen, and I feel like in my head I would go, good riddance. can you argue against that, please? I don't like it.
People,
Uh-huh.
people,
I was expecting you to elaborate a little more.
You know, like the examples that I gave, people do. Well, it's more or less about revenge suicide, right? Because a lot of people who does this, things in front of people, does it out of like spite, like revenge on society, because they felt insignificant. No matter what they do, it doesn't really matter, and it's always because of the people. So, fuck them.
how would you know that though?
Exactly.
Because they're already dead.
And you could also look at it like they're trying to do two things at once.
Mm.
I want to kill myself, but if I kill myself in front of everybody else, society in and of itself will be like, this problem's getting worse. Here goes another one. Maybe we should think of a way to stop this from happening. They want the fact that they have this illness to be recognized by everyone else after they've gone, and they want to kill themselves. They literally have done two things at once.
Maybe we should use an example that we can relate to more. How about
Use nothing but examples I can relate to.
throwing yourself off the building?
I've thought about throwing myself off buildings several times.
Hmm.
I want people to recognize the fact that there is something wrong with me. And people have. I've been told there is no other solution to fix me but medication. And medication I refuse to take. So there will always be something wrong with me.
I really wanted to say something when Betty was talking to Brandon before. It is selfish to want to take your own life. I think it really does depend on the method, though. Everybody have their own reason for doing what they do, and I understand that. Well, before we get into that, let's use the example of home suicide, right? The typical ones. What can you imagine when a person is to like remove themselves from the world? What do you think they would do?
Well, I can only go by my own experiences, I suppose. But yeah, so I tried to rope. So like you say, that would have been selfish because somebody would have had to then come in and find me roping.
Damn! Stop taking my lines! God damn it! Okay, go.
But yeah,
Uh-huh.
I mean, luckily for me, because right now I'm not sad. I'm happy to be alive. So fortunately, my fat ass broke the rope.
Damn.
Yeah, but that would have been it though. That would have. I mean, I genuinely went for it and it snapped. So.
But in retrospect,
I know how
you
that
have your
feels,
opinions.
Betty. I know how that feels.
Oh, that's the very thought that stopped me from just going ahead with ending my own life. I thought ahead.
My ideal.
Yeah, go for it.
My ideal plan was carbon monoxide, charcoal grill in a sealed room with
Yeah.
some type of vent that could automatically open so that whoever comes in won't be poisoned by it. Just to make it quick, easy, simple, no blood, nothing, you just slowly fall asleep. Like melatonin gummies right before. Have it going. That was the thought. I think that isn't that. That is other ways.
In that moment, can you say that you loved the people around you?
Yes.
No, I still don't know.
What about you, Betty?
The way. Ooh.
What could I say that I loved the people around me?
When you were about to take your own life?
No, not at all. No, not in the slightest. I didn't love anybody, and nobody loved me. Well, maybe there was a couple of family members that would have missed me afterwards, but in that moment, I was convinced that I didn't love anybody and nobody loved me.
Hmm. What were you gonna say, Guru?
Maybe just this is going more into like spirituality and religion, but I believe that like I'd see that person again after, like I'd see the people that I care about after everything ended.
Right, okay. So the intent was to more or less bring yourself over to where you think that person is.
The intent would be just to escape the pain.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I think that's what it was. Just that.
Okay. All right. So let me shit on that. No.
Oh.
Okay. Jelly's dying in the background. She's hyperventilating. I don't like people ending their lives like that due to the fact that a lot of people will have to deal with that afterwards. I think it's inconsiderate, and I know people who are trying to end their own lives are not considering what happens after, because the whole point of it is to end yourself. But I'm still living on. Everybody else is still living on, and you're leaving that burden behind. I don't know.
Well, who classes it as a burden? You or them?
Them.
Now, see, to say that them killing themselves and everything that's left behind is a burden, it's really not. Because if I kill myself and the people around me feel so sad about it, if at the end point, you should want me to be happy if you really cared about me. If I'm not happy here in life, depending on how death actually works, I should be happy in death.
Yeah.
You should be okay with the fact that I'm happy. I'm happy with my own death. And there's no burden when I die because the coroner gets paid, the optometrist, whoever cuts the body open and does all this extra work, the people who set up my funeral, the people who get paid for me getting put in the dirt. There's no burden. It's just money being made. And the fact that I'm happy should make you happy, so there should be no burden on your conscience. Should be no burden at all.
Was it so one way?
I think there is a burden, but there's a burden on both sides. Because, like, isn't it kind of selfish for you to expect them to also just live on that tortured existence? Isn't that also somewhat selfish?
Wait, hold on. Where are we going with that? What do you mean by that? Explain. You mean having to deal with their suicide, or having to live life that
Live
you
on.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, which one?
Like,
I mean,
if you're the
he's not
second
wrong.
one, like, if you really want them to live on and they don't see a reason to live on, and you really just expect them to because you'd see it as like a burden, like, why
Okay,
would you?
let me clarify.
Yeah.
I'm not telling them to force yourself to live. If that's like the only solution that you can see in that moment, then I understand that. What I'm saying is, don't become a problem. That's all I'm saying. Don't become a problem to other people. Don't turn yourself into a problem for other people to deal with.
And that goes back to my earlier question of who defines it as a problem.
People who will have to process all of the stuff that happens after you end your life.
What about anything about after that is considered to be a problem? Me dying is considered the problem? Like, what's the problem?
Well, you dying, of course, is going to be a problem because you become a body, right? And now someone will have to carry it out, and then you're thinking about this like it helps the economy, is what I'm hearing, and I think
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
no. You're just not processing what I'm saying correctly.
Okay, correct me.
When I kill myself, what you're getting at is my death affects someone else mentally. When I kill myself,
Not
my
mentally.
death shouldn't affect anyone else mentally or physically, depending on
Yeah.
how you like deal with things. Shouldn't affect anyone else at all. At all. It should. The only people it should affect are the people who get paid. It should affect no one else.
Then who's paying for that?
Life insurance, I guess. I don't fucking know.
That's the whole point. The carelessness.
I have life insurance, so I know what's gonna happen to me.
Right?
I feel like if you want that person to live so much and you feel like them taking their life is selfish, and you should give them a reason to live or help them find a reason.
Let me clarify. I didn't say that. I didn't say that, I want them to continue, living even while, feeling the way they do. And I'm not saying that I have a solution. I'm able to like give them purpose so that they can continue living on. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that either.
Mm-hmm.
And for the third example that I was going to throw is what I think is the respectable, in my opinion, a respectable way to end your own life. I'm not saying you can't end your own life. I'm saying there's a way to not be a problem. And
Let me get my notebook out.
no, I was gonna say, yeah, don't actually do it though, right? Yeah, so disclaimer, this is just what I think would be the least harmful like way to like end your own life, because like you're not exactly creating more jobs for everybody else around you, family, friends, I don't know, workers that have to deal with your body. Right, so it's the I guess we already mentioned assisted suicide. That's one thing. If suicide is the only escape that you have while dealing with like terminally ill issues, like I understand like maybe ending it earlier would be the most humane thing to do. The other one is, god damn it. it's so hard to like talk about these things. The traditional route that the Japanese used to take, which is, if you're familiar with a little forest, or not exactly a little, under Mount Fuji, called Aokigahara, is where a lot of people would go there to end their lives, but I guess while being surrounded in nature. The infamous Logan Paul incident. To me,
So
letting
they gotta buy a plane ticket.
Don't do it though. Don't do it though. Right. So
Yeah, but if you were going to do it politely, right? And by polite, I mean there's nobody left to clean up your mess afterwards.
hmm.
Like, wouldn't you just throw yourself in a fire pit and then you'd just be ash?
Volcano. Yeah.
But who's gonna control that fire? A volcano, I don't. Yeah.
But well, you just make sure that it's a controlled fire pit.
You can't. You lose control the point of when you stop breathing. No, like you stop being conscious.
Yeah, but if there's nothing around it to set fire, then it won't carry on.
You could jump into the ocean.
Were you not a Boy
Yeah, that's what I
Scout?
was gonna mention. Sorry.
Nothing is fine.
We're talking about suicide and Jelly's laughing in the background. Yeah, sorry, girl. What were you gonna say?
You could jump into the ocean.
Yeah.
once.
So yeah, that's what
Another
I
one.
mean by I never even said it. Yeah, letting nature take your body. Yeah, that's why I mentioned the forest. I also wanted to mention the ocean, but Guru beat me to it. Right. I think you no, I don't want to say that. I was gonna say you bring benefit to come with your own
That's
death.
the right word. That's the right word. I don't know what else you want to say.
because
Fertilizer.
because it sounds like I'm encouraging it.
I mean, if you're gonna kill yourself, at least do it so your body is used for something.
Right? Is what I think. But at the same time, the reason why I like those type of like suicides more is because it gives you the most time to reflect. So with my experience with my own suicide, I guess I'm the type of person to like think ahead of like so many different situations because I'm just generally paranoid and I keep thinking about the worst case scenario. So I thought about who needs to carry my body out, etc., etc., etc. Like what happens if funeral happens? I'm not even see life insurance thing. I wasn't even on, so I don't know what's going to happen afterwards. Who's going to fund for my cremation or whatever they have to do to get rid of my body, and also thought about who would weep for me. And all that time spent was so productive, in my opinion. I think thinking about ending your own life for like a solid 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, whilst almost actually doing it, I think that would save lives.
I think that will make some situations worse.
Go for it.
Because in certain situations, yes, it will cause some people to truly think things through and realize maybe this isn't the best choice. But in others, people will do nothing but think about the reason why they're here right now, why they've come to this conclusion. They'll just think about all the traumatic experiences they've had.
Yeah, you're assuming that people in that situation are clear-headed and thinking in a clear-headed way when the majority aren't clear-headed at all. They're in the grips of depression, and that's pretty much all that they can see.
Help me change my mind. Like at the end of that sentence, yeah, I thought good riddance again. Because they're that impulsive, right?
I mean, yes, but
They're missing that care that a person should be having in a civil or civilization, society. I guess I lack patience for people who are inconsiderate. Like, I want to be convinced. And
Working on it.
I feel like
and I realize that I am becoming a burden here of giving you all the responsibility to shift my opinion on something that I see one way in.
This is what I do for a living, Shy. I mean,
I know, but
I don't think it's a burden.
I hate this game.
Peach is saying, I assure you, insurance company won't give a dime.
I feel like there's just a lack of caring all around. Yeah.
I think I also lack respect for people who doesn't go down without a fight. Wait, does that make sense? No, that wasn't English. That wasn't what I wanted to say.
I mean, you can't say that because this person could have been fighting their said mental illness for a
it's
long
the other
period
way,
of time,
sorry.
and at this point,
I respect people who fight on their way out more. You get me? But not like, killing somebody else. More like trying to solve the problem that is, like torturing them in their head. I think suicide is a lazy way out. Almost like a cheat code.
I feel like suicide isn't considered a cheat code. Suicide could just be one of the many outcomes that you can get.
Yeah.
One of the many outcomes?
One of the many outcomes you can get.
But all outcome is death, isn't it?
No. Well, yes, depending on how long you live. But no, that's not what I'm saying. Like, person's in a bad place. There's like 3 different options you can get here. 1, person could end up in a mental institution. 2, person could continue life as a healthy individual. 3, the person could continue their life with this said mental illness constantly driving them down to the day they die. 4, said person could just kill themselves by committing suicide. 5, said person could, I don't fucking know, live 50% of the rest of their life with this mental illness, find some way to cure it, then live the rest of their life through happiness. 5, said person could find a way to cure their mental illness in that moment for the next 5 years, be just fine, and then for the next 10 years be completely up fucking set and back to the same place they were, and then for the next 5 years fix it, and for the next 5 years is broken. They could go through a cycle like that. What am I on? Was that 6? 7. Said person could turn into a vegetable right then and there by shooting themselves in the face wrong. 9. Said person could, I don't know, chop both legs off and have to live the rest of their life legless. However, they've rid themselves of previous problem and now they have a new problem. They're upset by the fact that they have no legs. 10. Another outcome they could get is they choose that they don't want to continue to live this standard life anymore.
Okay.
They go to off themselves and numb up their entire body, and now someone has to take care of them. They've gone from believing that they're a burden to people to actually becoming a burden to people. 11. I'm not continuing this.
You're talking about an outcome that a situation would bring, right? We're not talking about the end goal. That's not what we're on, are we?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, there's many possibilities of like what happens after you decide to not take your own life. But I think that that's better than doing something that you can't reverse, isn't it? There's no do-over
Going back-
once you end it.
But who's to
Going
say
back-
that they need a do-over?
Oh no, I thought about it again. The word good
Huh.
riddance.
No,
Going
boy.
back to what was said about uh wait, my brain. Being a fighter, I feel like coming to the conclusion of like I want to end my life and then like actually doing it requires, I know it might sound fucked up, but it requires bravery because they're going to a place that nobody has come back really from.
Hmm.
Is that Does that make sense?
Bravery. Well, I
Like
think
what Wave said, especially even for those people who choose to do it in like an active way. Like instead of jumping in front of a train, actually pulling the trigger. That requires a lot.
bravery.
I don't know if there's another word for it.
I think if we look at it from a very simple lens, an animal felt cornered and their actions became unpredictable, is how I see suicide.
Hmm.
And it's hard to eliminate this particular threat for this particular animal because they're their own threat, right?
Hmm.
We see things from like a very grim perspective when we think about ending it all.
Hmm.
And I understand that. And I understand what you said, Guru, that it takes like a special kind of like courage to go ahead with that decision. But that's because I think. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I keep thinking good riddance. Oh my god. I think it's because there wasn't a whole lot of planning happening. I think that person didn't see any other way out, right? So that's why they choose to do what they did.
Hmm.
Where does that confidence come from?
Desperation.
Desperation creates confidence?
Yes.
I mean, like, if you're desperate to live and you're on like, wait, my brain. Sorry. Didn't have my coffee today. Hmm. How can I explain this? If you're desperate enough to want to be with someone, you'll get that bravery to actually talk to someone. I feel like that's That makes sense.
I just want to understand how people can be so sure.
Sure of what?
Of their choices.
Fail to understand what there's not to be sure about.
What is there to be sure about? When you take
If I'm
action.
going to die.
Okay.
Committing suicide, that's what you're sure about. I'm going to die.
But how does that help you?
I know that I'm getting the outcome that I want.
Which is nothing, right? To feel nothing?
Death.
Mhm.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You lose all probabilities of what comes after in order to feel nothing?
Yeah.
I think that's a bad business move.
Business.
To
Why
get
that
something.
word choice?
Hmm?
Why that word choice?
I think everything functions on a give and take, no? We breathe, that's why. Well, we breathe in, that's why we breathe out.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't make any sense. That's a bad example. Don't me when I gave a
Mm.
bad example. Don't
I'm
do
trying
that.
to understand.
You just want me to keep talking so I can explain myself, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't think you're getting your efforts worth when you're willing to settle with nothing by also rejecting happiness itself. That might come your way.
Like.
But the whole point of this is because you don't see that, right?
But then there will be pain that would come your way too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you jump in a cold pool of water, it's only cold for that first 5 minutes, isn't it?
Hmm.
But once we touch the water and think that our entire body is freezing over, and it makes you panic. Maybe I just can't relate. Like, Wave had that moment of reflection, right? Like seeing himself as Satan. And that stopped the suicide from happening.
I don't know if it stopped it because I passed out.
It stopped it. You're still alive. You still survived. Maybe we lack that.
Like the.
We lack the way to reflect on our thoughts. Hold on. If we're thinking about No, that's flawed. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was having an entire conversation in my head. So if an example of like bullying, I guess, yeah, you could feel cornered, and maybe ending it all would be like maybe one of the better choices. It might seem that way. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah.
I think this also changes depending on the person's concept of the afterlife.
Do you think so?
Yes. Because if that person believes that if you kill yourself, you're going to hell, they probably wouldn't do it.
But if you are taught that if you kill yourself, you go to heaven,
Then it would be less of like hindrance, I guess.
no, I don't know if I wanna keep this topic going.
Mm.
We might go off topic. Oh well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the whole point of this is to get an opinion to reflect on anyway. I think everybody is worth something while they're alive. That's what I think.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel like I'm burning out now.
I think isn't all life precious, including your own.
Hmm?
I feel like everyone just has to find their own personal reasons to keep going,
Mm.
and there isn't an actual one that's like shared between people. You have to make it up as you go.
Yeah. Purpose.
Yeah.
Mm. How about you, Wave? Do you have purpose?
No.
But what about that weekly thing that you're doing?
I mean, if you consider that a purpose, then sure.
Would you say that you're just here for the ride?
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, same. I can
I
relate to
can
that.
get behind that.
Mm. Yeah. So yeah, that was going to be the last question, which is, what keeps you alive?
Hmm.
For me, it's curiosity.
Hmm.
Nothing, Wave?
Nothing keeps me alive.
But you're still alive.
Nothing's forcing me to stay alive, though.
There must be something if you're still alive.
Not really. I've just chosen not to kill myself again.
So you keep yourself alive.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a curiosity to
Hmm.
learning.
As Jelly laughs at your opinion.
no, no, she's watching something. Hmm.
Learning is great,
Yeah.
but it's also painful.
Yeah.
I feel like killing yourself, you don't get that same joy of learning throughout life because you'll eventually just end up in the same place, I think.
Hmm.
So why not just keep living?
That is the mindset, yes. Yeah. I live by that too.
But
But
if there is any circumstance that really does like push to the edge, there is always gonna be that exit button there, just as like a failsafe.
yeah.
Like if you're kidnapped or something and there for years, you could press that failsafe button just to be done with it.
Hmm. Hopefully that's not as common.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, that's all the notes that I've taken to ask, and yeah, we've reached the 2 hour mark. I think it's a nice place to just wrap it up. And I'll be returning at 8 p.m. for a different time zone, you know? Peach is saying, don't fuck yourself, you selfish prick.
I'm gonna add that to my note.
Yeah, I think that was really insightful. I'm glad we got that out. I enjoyed that.
Mm.
I can't say if my opinion has shifted yet, but it might happen within this week or this month or this year.
Oh yeah, what brought up this conversation idea?
A lot of people's been asking
Just
me
that
that.
video. Yeah.
No, I always think about these things. Oh, nice to meet you, by the way. I'm Mikey. This is me. This is what I think about. Hi, Mitchell. Welcome back. Yeah, this is what I often think about, like ponder about when I'm staring at a wall. It's just something that I don't bring up in a stream because, like when I was
See, right now,
Shishimaru.
your mindset's a lot darker than mine.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I'll tell you right now, your mindset is a lot darker than mine, and I am legitimately evil.
I mean, that's from one perspective, no? Like you're probably opinionated on something else that is like something that I don't know anything about, and yeah, those are the strengths and weaknesses of all of us.
Your mindset kind of reminds me of like my family's back in the PH. Maybe it's just like culturally it's more about like respectability and like caring for others' opinions, I guess.
Hmm.
Like you should do suicide in a way that doesn't impact others, right? It's more about like caring about what others think.
Hmm.
Yeah. Very interesting here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the whole point that I wanted to make. And see, that's fine and all, but I think the thought that I am not comfortable with is the way I think. I don't feel sorry for people who takes the takes the death route of like inconveniencing other people whilst doing it. I don't think I feel sorry for it at all. Makes me mad even. I think not respectable would be the best way to describe how I feel. And yeah, that's something that I wanted to change, and that's why I decided to have this discussion. I'm glad you guys joined in. Thank you very much. It was a very tough subject, and I get that. I'm glad Betty and Brendan joined as well. That was a nice. Oh, Brendan wasn't a surprise, but yeah, a Wave as well. Yeah, Betty and Wave was a surprise coming around. Yeah, so later today is there's gonna be another session. I believe Americans would be sleeping for that. That's why I had this session to begin with. So
Like
Wait, what time is it?
it's
that's like 3 a.m.
Mm.
here.
in it. In it.
In it.
Mm.
Wait, what? How many hours from now?
Let's say 4
Do you mean like your
hours
usual
and.
time?
Sorry, what?
Do you mean your usual time?
Yeah, my usual stream time. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll be awake.
Yeah. You're not gonna sleep. Okay.
I never sleep.
All right. Okay then. Yeah. So whoever will be there, I'll see you there. If not, then yeah. Don't let the subject that we discussed today affect you in any way. Hopefully it doesn't.
I'll be fine.
Mm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, just take it as an opinion and don't let it affect how you feel about yourself. Right. Okay, let's disconnect. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, see you later.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So yeah, that was a whole lot of serious conversation, Peach. To be honest, I didn't get to read all of what you said, so give me a chance to go back. And Mitch has been joining in the chat and gonna be then in 5 hours. Imagine. Yeah. So we had a lot of people, giving us their opinion on things, and I'm glad we took time to do that. I want to feel sorry. Maybe I just lack the experience of maybe losing someone important that I can't. I guess maybe that's why I don't see things in a similar way for people who has the empathy for people who end their own lives. Maybe. Yeah, Peach is saying, my friend tried to walk into traffic twice just because of fear for her parents thinking of her pregnancy and not long after a miscarriage. Right. What made me mad was because I was there, she wanted me to be witness. I think that's not fair. That's awful. Yeah. What if the outcome was you are a ghost who is alone, but you are forever stuck watching life moving on? Man, that's a torture. Yep, that's what you said. Okay. But isn't all life precious, including your own? I think whenever I think of that person, it would affect me in a negative way. Obviously, if the person who thought that they think they can be non-existent, that freaking action would immensely affect those who loved, who liked, or hated. Yeah. And Mitch is confused. Yes. I might have to tune in later if I'm. Oh yeah. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, this is about I think if we're gonna wrap up the topic into like one sentence, should you feel sorry for people who take their own lives? That's it. There you have it. There you go. Alright, I'm gonna wrap it up. I need to pee. And I also need to eat something. So yeah, Mitch, thank you very much for coming. Peaches, thank you very much for coming, and everybody else who tuned in today who is not in the chat, I appreciate you all for coming around. Yeah, let people know that you watch this video by liking the live stream. Very helpful for us, and yeah, it makes us very, very happy. And if you have anything to say, if you're watching this archived stream and you have something to say about how you feel on the topics that we discussed today, please leave a comment. I promise I will look at it. It's not like I'm famous or anything. Right? So yes. Peach, I thought you said kill yourself. I saw KYS and I'm like, what the fuck? Alright. Alright, so yes, yeah, Peach is saying I don't feel sorry because it's their choice, but also I am immensely mentally affected by it, whether I hate it or not. And I think that's not fair, right? In my opinion, it's not fair to subject people to like deal with the death that you never had to deal with. I think it's selfish. I don't know. Alright. Okay. Done. Over. Bye. Everybody, bye. Don't die, stay alive for those who love you and will love you in the near future, okay? Don't KYS.